Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Hex with John Arnold, Armand Kafai, Daniel Robertson. Don't forget, real quick, give us the thumbs up if you are watching on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you are listening. Give us a rating if you are listening on Spotify. And guys, we've got Leagues Cup kicking off in like 24 hours, depending on when you listen to this. We have got the LC. He's doing the LC, folks. For those of you listening on Spotify, he's trying to do the LC. Armand just did the Libres y Locos sign, which is relatively fitting. So we've got 6 topics. Let's get into it. John, you said in the group chat that the trip to All-Star, which we'll talk about later, it whetted your appetite a little bit for MLS. And MLS had their final match weekend before taking a break for Leagues Cup. And guys, when there's 10 games left, it's really getting down to the nitty gritty. It is easy to say that a lot of games don't matter in MLS, but I do feel like right now the games we are watching certainly do matter. So let's get into our winners of the week. And John, why don't you kick us off with a guy and a team that maybe got the best result of the weekend?
Yeah, well, my winner of the weekend is Martin Ojeda, because I think that people like us are starting to realize what he's doing in Orlando, and partly because it was a great performance. The Crew go up 1-0 in Columbus, and you think, well, that's probably done and dusted, and then all of a sudden, Ojeda starts pulling the strings, finds Ivan Angulo multiple times out wide. He crosses in, and it results in 2 goals for Amiro Enrique. And then Ojeda added one of his own, kind of hitting the Crew on the counterattack as they were looking for the equalizer. But then you start to dig a little deeper. You say, well, Ojeda, yeah, what's he been doing? How's he been playing? And the answer is pretty great. He had 2 goals the previous match week against New England. And a week before that, it scored against Montreal, set up a goal before that, set up a goal before that, set up a goal before that. I think all said and done, it's 10 goal contributions in the last 8 to 10 games. Obviously, fact check that. But he's just been on an absolute tear, and I don't think we've been talking about it. And I don't think we talk about Orlando really at all. And even you think the preconceived notions that you have about a team, Oscar Pareja, who we know well, we always think, oh yeah, pretty defensive team, solid, don't take many risks. Well, Orlando has scored in the last 16 matches they've played, but they've also conceded in the vast majority of those games. So some of those sort of stereotypes are not fitting. So throw some of those out, but definitely give credit to Martin Ojeda, who helped Orlando get a really nice win in a situation where it would have been easy to kind of say, back on the plane, boys, we'll get these 3 points next time out.
Armand, I feel like Orlando, they're a victim of playing in the Eastern Conference, where if they were in the Western Conference, they would probably be competing in the top 2 or 3 seeds. They're still, I think, 9 points out of first place in the East. They're not going to contend for a top seed there. A team, though, that if they played in the East probably wouldn't make the playoffs, but the fact that they play in the West and beat up on an Eastern Conference team makes them your winner of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Austin FC.
No bias.
I mean, there's no bias in this. I mean, Austin FC has a pretty soft schedule coming up for the rest of the year, which is going to help them quite a bit. But look, what was the whole issue that everyone was talking about Austin? They couldn't score. They struggled to score.
Yeah.
Mirto Azuni was struggling to get on the score sheet. Now he scored in back-to-back matches. They put up 4 goals against DC. Regardless of what you say about DC, you need those confidence-building moments. And that's huge because, again, their schedule is soft. They play Houston in Austin, Dallas in Austin. Then they go to Montreal, and then they play San Jose in Austin again. Their schedule, I think, someone did a statistical analysis and was like, it's one of the softest schedules, if not the softest schedule left in MLS, which kind of breeds some confidence here. Austin FC that, we went through the gauntlet already. Now what's going to happen for the rest of the season? They have a big opportunity, Daniel, I think, to kind of rise up the standings, picking off points while teams, I think, are going to be beating up on each other in the middle. So for me, it's getting a guy like Mirto Azuni. You pay $12 million for him. He's back. He's getting back on track. You're getting that confidence up. I mean, these things are important regardless if you're beating up on really bad DC who didn't get a new manager bump, which is pretty funny.
There's no new manager yet. He doesn't have the docs.
I think his visa is delayed. Is that what it is? Or
The manager can't kick the ball though, and I mean, I guess he could, but and Armand, it's interesting to me looking at Austin. Who was it? The was it Miguel Herrera that maybe went on the field and
Javier Aguirre?
That's it.
Threw a tackle in on Costa Rica at Energy Stadium way back in the day.
The interesting thing though with Austin is like they signed Brandon Vasquez, and it's almost like an FC Dallas situation where when they dropped Lucho Acosta from the lineup, they started scoring goals. Now, obviously, Brandon Vasquez didn't get dropped from the lineup; he got hurt, and it's unfortunate. But it's interesting to see that it seems like now they're almost starting to find their identity offensively a little bit. Like, are you noticing that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was saying that like it wouldn't like when they signed Vasquez and Zuni that it was weird. Yeah. Like, oh, why do you sign both these guys? Why not one or the other? And it seems like they both do better when there's only one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it allows for another maybe true winger or some guy that can kind of tuck in behind a little bit, etc. Versus kind of the idea that they had before. So I mean, it's been tough because you have to make them work. They're your three DPs. You have to make them work. But for Nico Estevez now, it's like, okay, we have one of them. Let's just throw him up top and let the system go. So I don't know how some of this stuff works, but
I do think it's a little incredible. I'll get into mine in just a moment, but I do think it's a little bit incredible. San Diego shut out the hottest team in MLS, Nashville, and they did to go top of the Western Conference, and they're not going to make our list for the winner of the week. That's just unfortunate for San Diego. Harsh. But I got to go with the team that's not just top of the West, top of MLS, and that is the Philadelphia Union. They showed a lot to me on Saturday night, and as I kind of said at the start, when you get down to 10 games left, I feel like Philly's been at the top of those standings for the entire year, but it's kind of like, all right, when are they going to go through their dip? When are they going to go through their dip? Well, it's not coming. And at this point, when there's 9 games left in the season, it's not really going to come. And Armand, we watched a lot of MLS 360 this weekend, and they stayed on that Philly game a lot. And as I was digging into the Philadelphia lineup this week, or before the show, I kind of realized, like, it's no fluke that they're at this spot. They came from behind to beat Colorado 3-1 at home, which that result in and of itself, nothing too crazy. But, John, they signed Danley Jean-Jacques, the Haitian, who's been, a great player. And I feel like that move went under the radar a little bit. And now he's quietly been one of the best central midfielders in MLS. They've got Lukic, they've got Quinn Sullivan, and then they are 3 deep at forward with Baribo, Damiani, and Ure.
Well, Ure comes in and he scored 2 goals on 11 touches, man. And I think like we say, oh, well, Philadelphia, they just, spray and pray, or they kind of just, bash and score ugly goals. That second goal they scored, the first Ure goal, actually had some build-up play, actually. I mean, Absolutely. If they can figure out how to kind of put a little bit of variation into the attack, which maybe they already have, and we just haven't given them credit for. I think they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs. I have been sort of a doubter, a skeptic, waiting for that drop, like you say, but it does look like maybe it's not going to happen. And again, it's another situation where, hey, go into the halftime locker room down 1-0. At home, of course, you're going to respond. But the fact that they did it in the way that they did, Baribo just with that nose for goal, man. He's just hungry. But then Ure, being so effective, so efficient, you just see the guys kind of competing, trying to one-up each other, and that's a good culture to build, right?
Yeah, that's a guy that would probably start for half the teams in the league, and he's coming off the bench for Philadelphia. And, boy, I'll tell you this, if they can get that number 1 seed, no one is going to want to go to play in Philadelphia in late November in the playoffs. We did not talk about Inter Miami in the first segment. There is no shortage of things to talk about, though, down in South Florida. On the pitch, off the pitch, player movement, all sorts of things. But let's start off with the spiciest of the 3 subjects we could get into. So MLS suspended Leo Messi and Jordi Alba for the last game because they did not play in the All-Star game. And that is a rule in MLS that if you don't play in the All-Star game, you are not eligible to play in your next MLS match. John, do you think that this was a move MLS had to make, sticking to their guns on this?
Yes. I mean, it's like if it wasn't in black and white, if it was the gray area that MLS likes to play in, then I think that you could have said, oh, well, yeah, he should be on the field. But the rule is pretty clear. I was actually a little surprised to see Alba suspended because he took a knock, right? He came off in the previous game. So I thought that one was more harsh than Messi, who was pretty clearly a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, and Garber himself said to Paul Tenorio of The Athletic in the article, one of the articles, it seemed like they had prepped many different reporters and said, hey, we're going to announce this at noon. Yeah. But Tenorio was actually able to talk to Garber, and he said, like, we got to change this rule. And he's right. And Mascherano said, hey, let's play the All-Star game in the weekend if you guys care about it so much. And he's right. I mean, I think, like, it's just clearly a sort of like a non-ideal situation. But, like, were they right to do the suspension? Yeah, it's in the rule book. You can't fudge that stuff. And if you do, everyone's pointing and saying, this is in the rules. They're doing everything for Messi. I mean, those accusations are going to fly no matter what, but it kind of like paints them as true if that happens. So I don't think they had a choice, man.
I do wonder if there was some level of Inter Miami, like totally fine with maybe Messi not playing this weekend, Jordi Alba too, and kind of thinking like, hey, this is kind of a good way for us to do this and make MLS look like the villain when our fans show up and Messi's not in the lineup for a big game, instead of they're like, hey, nothing we can do about this. But
I don't know that they were playing 3D chess, telling him to stay home from the All-Star game. I think he just didn't want to go.
That's fair. We'll talk about Austin later. It was very hot. But Armand, we watched, and you will back me up on this one. So we were watching MLS 360 at your place, and they had Cincinnati. So Inter Miami and Cincinnati play to a 0-0 draw. Probably a result both teams are happy with. But given what happened in the last 60 seconds of that game, I think the visitors were unhappy here. Armand, I said, since he's going to score from this, I said they're going to score from that set piece. They did. Should it have counted?
I think so. I think both players, Noah Allen and Miles Robinson, were tugging each other. Yes, I think there was a little bit of a, I guess, hit to the face or something along those lines. Let's let them play. I think it was a really soft call. But it's one of those things, like, if you call it in the field, I don't think you're going to go to VAR and overturn it. I think it's whatever stays in the field stays on field. It wasn't a clear and obvious error, in my opinion. So, I mean, like I said, I think they played well. I think both teams played well. I think I'd be really excited to see like a one-off playoff game between those two teams. That'd be super exciting. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to have Evander and Messi square off. But
how would you feel about a best of three?
Because that's what you're gonna see probably.
Well, I mean, if Miami falls to the 7th seed, or if Miami falls to the 6th seed, that's what you would probably get.
Well, I don't think we're gonna see
something to get him suspended.
I don't think we're going to see Miami falling. I wanted to, because they signed another World Cup winner this week. I want to take two angles to this, starting off with Armand on the operational side. How is Inter Miami? They signed Rodrigo de Paul this week. It's a $15 million move, I believe, something along those lines. Armand, how is Inter Miami able to sign him? And John, how do you see him fitting into this Inter Miami team?
So, jumping into how they signed him, it's
because they have three DPs.
It's very clear in the MLS rulebook that a loan fee counts as a part of the team's budget charge for that respective player, but a future purchase does not. Mm-hmm. All Miami has to do is say, "Hey, Atletico, take this part of the salary. We'll pay it back to you. Essentially, we'll pay it back to you in the transfer fee." We need to fit him in for the last 10 games of the season, essentially. I mean, that's what it is. They're fitting him for the last 10 to 12 games of the year.
Gareth Bale. It's the Gareth Bale 2.0.
Exactly. They're essentially Gareth Baling it. What will happen is he's a loan player. When they trigger that option to buy, he'll become a designated player. At that point, Busquets' number comes off the books. Whether Busquets comes back at a TAM number, whether Busquets retires is up to him. But then that his spot opens, DePaul will naturally just fill in that spot. It's a thing that New England Revolution did with Thomas Chonkalai. They did this in 2023 to keep Gustavo Bo, Carlos Gil, and Veroni all together. They kept them all together, which is a very funny looking back in the
That was a good team. That was a very good.
That one team was good, but then
and then Bo left. Chonkalai filled in right into that DP spot, and again. Pep Biel, that's what Charlotte's doing with Pep Biel. They're also doing the same thing where if they trigger a purchase to buy, I promise you Pep Biel will be a full designated player that wouldn't be able to be bought down. So there's been examples of this being done in the past, John.
So they're
I'm
playing
interested
chess while other teams are playing
right,
checkers.
and keep in mind they have the money to do this because they sold Leo Campagna for $2 million in allocation money to the Revolution. That's essentially funding this, like that's what's helped funding this room and this cap space that they have. So John, I'm really interested to see what you think of how he fits because I think he instantly is one of the best players in MLS.
Yeah, well, I think he fits well too, right? Like, if you said like, oh, positionally, what is Inter Miami the most? Maybe not DePaul, but just the fact that like people have called him Messi's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Like the not the bald dude with the MMA background or whatever, but like on the field, and I definitely think that he's there. I was skeptical of Luis Suarez coming into the league, and that was silly. Like he's worked amazingly with Messi. The question about Suarez was his fitness, but DePaul coming from playing at Atletico Madrid regularly, playing continually with the national team, there's not really those questions, right? I mean, I think it's a fantastic signing. He's not registered for Leagues Cup. I hope he can get registered. I think that would be a lot of fun. You saw Messi debut in Leagues Cup. Other guys like Sergio Canales from Monterrey debut in Leagues Cup. I just think it adds something. But, just because he's a World Cup winner doesn't guarantee success. We just saw Olivier Giroud head back to Ligue 1 after whatever that was with LAFC. But I just think the familiarity with Messi and with the other guys there is such a huge factor that it's hard to see this not being a success. And I think that's part of the reason that it's raised people's hackles of how could this happen? Miami's doing this crazy thing. And really, when you look at it, it's sort of like a sicko move that the heads know about from the Revs and from Charlotte FC, who, with all love to our listeners from those markets, are not exactly the first two MLS teams you think of.
Yeah, no, and the thing too is, Armand, we were saying this on Saturday, Redondo is not that good.
No.
And Redondo next to Busquets is not a combination that works. If your aspirations
He's a dumb player. He's just a very dumb player. Just does dumb things.
Well, okay.
He just does dumb things. You just watch him play. You're like, why are you positionally here? Like, this doesn't make sense.
And to me, you talked about being Messi's bodyguard, but as much I think he'll protect Busquets in a lot of ways, because Busquets is a guy who, if you give him time on the ball, he can still pick out a pass as good as anyone in the world, just about. So they were missing that link for a long time, and now they have that link. And by the way, Miami 8 points behind Philadelphia for first place with 3 games in hand. Another team in the Eastern Conference. I feel like we're talking about mainly Eastern Conference teams here.
I mean, that's where the action's
What
happening.
is this, extra time?
What is it? The extra time 2.0.
Rest in peace, extra time.
Rest in peace. One of we're extra time 2.0. Another team in the West. It's an arms race right now in the Eastern Conference. Everyone, we talked about how Philly's already got their team. Miami's loading up. Cincy's got their team. Nashville, but one team that it was a puzzle piece missing that final. The puzzle board missing that final piece, the Columbus Crew, and they went out and they filled it. They signed Wessam Abou Ali, the Palestinian international, who anyone who watched Club World Cup, Armand, what do you think Columbus was thinking as he hit that hat trick goal against
They were
Portland?
like, no, please, stop.
His price, didn't they say his price doubled or something like that?
Something like that. They were interested in him in the winter window, and they were trying to get it done. And then
at that time, it was probably, what, $2 or $3 million?
Right, and Ali was like, "We're not going to sell him until after a Club World Cup." Rightfully so, as they cooked.
Yeah, and he cooked, but Columbus still cooked as well, and they filled him. So now they have that target forward spot filled. Does this make Columbus a favorite in the Eastern Conference?
It definitely fills a hole for them, guys. Like, I mean, genuinely, when you look at a guy like they're replacing a guy like Jason Russell Rowe potentially, who I think he was good, and I think he's good as a depth piece, but I wouldn't have him as an MLS Cup winning starter, especially when Jason Russell Rowe is replacing Cucho Hernandez, who walks into the Real Betis lineup in La Liga and starts playing really well. So for me, guys, like I think it's a really great signing. The only question is he going to have that instant impact that, for example, Cucho had when he joined MLS? A lot of guys that come in mid-season sometimes struggle quite a bit because it takes a little bit to acclimate to the country, to the league, get your family settled. All those things play a big role in that psyche. So
and he doesn't have his buddies with him like Rodrigo de Paul
exactly.
But that's what I was about to say too. Is not just the things you mentioned, Armand, which are all important, but even Nancy, right? Like I think, like yes, you find someone who can fit in the system, who knows. Who you think he's going to work, obviously, that's part of the scouting. And if they've been watching him for as long as the reports are, then clearly they've kind of worked out that, this guy's going to work. But I do think Nancy's a unique figure who asks especially that forward. I mean, Cucho was really, especially after Zelarayan left, Cucho was relied on so heavily. It changed a little bit after Rossi showed up. But, figuring out that chemistry with Rossi, who's, able to sort of play, I think he's played in a bit slightly different way since Cucho's departure than when Cucho was there, right? So I think all those elements are so interesting. And honestly, man, like whenever you ask the question, does it make him the MLS Cup favorite? I don't think so. I just think there's too many other strong teams. And just because the Crew have habitually been good, I think we're giving them a lot of credit that they deserve, that they've earned, but that I haven't necessarily sort of felt this season. Maybe that Orlando game is a little too fresh in my mind. They've only lost 5 games so far this year, but I'm not sure that's all because of a missing forward.
I think for me, the most fascinating thing about it, though, is just when you look at the Eastern Conference and Columbus making a move like this, maybe how much different MLS is now than the MLS was 3, 4, 5 years ago. Because if you made this move in 2021, this probably still vaults you to being one of the best teams in the league by far. But now we're talking about Philadelphia complete with 3 great forwards. Baribo, look at Cincinnati. Denke obviously needs to get healthy, but they've got a great forward in Denke. Nashville's got their guy in Surridge. This was the one team, though, that didn't have that guy. So to me, it puts them right in the mix. Now, I don't think, as I mentioned, I don't think that Abou Ali was friends with Daniel Gazdag or anything like that before.
And that's the thing, too, man. Culturally, the Crew have done such a good job of, Cucho showed up, instant success. Lucas Zelarayan showed up, instant success. You had all these guys who, have arrived. Gazdag, not really.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of weird because he knows the league. This guy comes in without knowing the league. I don't know what his relationship is like with any of the players, but I think culturally, it's different than going from Argentina to MLS, where it's you've heard things, you've had other national teammates or former club teammates who have played there. Maybe there's some connections there we're not familiar with, or coaching history, but I just wonder about the kind of quick connection that if you got this move done in the winter. Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, the replacement is obvious. He's got the preseason. He can figure out what he's been asked to do. I just think it's a heavy ask to say that this one guy is going to vault them from contender. I think we think they're a contender to favorite.
Armand, the last thing I'll mention real quick, though, is, we look at this guy and he's so fresh in our minds as having had that amazing game in Club World Cup. But before the Egyptian, he played for Al Ahly for 2 years in the Egyptian Premier League, but he came from Sweden. Players from Sweden before that in the Danish Superliga, it's been really hit or miss, right? The success they've had in MLS. I mean, we see Pellegrino with San Jose, who was the leading scorer and doing all this stuff. He's done nothing for them. Does that give you a little bit of pause?
I don't think that would give me as much pause. I mean, he's played again, I think in pretty, I would say, maybe not the strongest competitions by any means.
He was playing in the Danish second division.
Al Ahly dominates Egypt, as we know, and also dominates Africa, as we know as well. I mean, with their constant appearances in Club World Cups, Intercontinental Cups, whatever whatever the other edition is being called now. But I mean, again, it's kind of hard to find stats on this guy as well too, because the Egyptian league isn't really public when it comes to the data or anything like that, etc. But
come on, guys.
But one thing is for sure, again, it's giving Columbus the benefit of the doubt, and this is another. Remember, Tim Bezbatchenko's gone, guys.
Issa Tall is a guy you get the benefit of the doubt.
It's all Issa Tall. This is now Issa Tall's, kind of stamp on his team. So the question is, okay, Gazdag was his purchase. Now Abou Ali is his as well. These are going to be two of, I think, the signs are going to judge him on.
Yep.
So the question is, okay, we knew we could trust him with the Columbus thing made sense with Bezbatchenko, but how does it look now with Issa Tall putting his mark on the team?
The time has come to get fully into Leagues Cup, and this is something we all look forward to every year as people who watch Liga MX and MLS. So first off, we're going to have a few segments on this, but first off, we're going to talk about what are you looking forward to most in Leagues Cup, and we got to go down to our Liga MX resident expert, John Arnold. John,
our Leagues Cup expert too.
Now let's let John with an H speak. What are you looking forward to most in 2025 Leagues Cup?
Well, you can read all about it on leaguescup.com. I'm back, baby. Year 3 of the official website, Soccer Meets Football series. In all seriousness, I think that I hope they stick with a format, and I think this one, because it's going to be fast and furious. I think other years it's been a lot of fun, but it's kind of bogged down or just felt really long.
Mhm.
Mexican teams who have been away from home for a full month, MLS teams who take an entire break from their season for a month. We've talked in both of the previous editions where there have been multiple teams who get eliminated at the league stage or in the first round of the knockouts, and they're like, they can't say it out loud, but sure are glad we don't have to keep playing in this. And I think that this new format eliminates that, where some teams are just not there. But also, it's 3 league matches, and then I think there's going to be some big drama in those last the match day 3 games, because you not only have to finish in the top 4 where you'd like to get 9 points, but other teams could also get 9 points. But you also need to get a good goal difference. You need to have the most goals scored. So winning those tiebreakers, I think, is going to make it really interesting. Where how much are you scoreboard watching on the last day, saying, "Oh boy, America just scored again. We've got to get 2 if we're Toluca or Cruz Azul or whoever." So I think the new format makes the tournament easier to follow once you get your head around it, because it's just quicker. It's not as much of a drag. It's not as much of a slog. It's boom, 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 3 games, then a break, and then you're into the knockout stage. So I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, man, is that condensed schedule giving us a better opportunity, I think, to see kind of high-stakes games quickly.
Yeah, and to me also, and just to reset for the listeners, so I know you mentioned a little bit, the format is MLS versus Liga MX. The top 9 teams from the Western Conference and Eastern Conference add up to 18 teams for MLS. There's 18 Liga MX teams. They did the draw based on finishing in last year. They made pots, based on the finish. And you play 3 games. The top 4 MLS teams by the standings, they add up all of the points and goal difference for the MLS teams. They add up all the points and goal difference for Liga MX teams. The top 4 from MLS will then play the top 4 from Liga MX in the quarterfinals. Same with the semifinals. So you cannot have a intra-conference, the same conference or the same league play each other until the semifinals.
All 4 of, if your favorite team's first 4 matches will be against teams from the other league.
Correct. So I agree. And the thing along those lines, John, that I like too is there was just so many games that were either meaningless or we're just not asking for these. No one needs to see another MLS game. No one needs to see, what was it, like Mazatlan versus Juarez in Austin?
In Austin, yeah.
No one's asking for that, So I like that. For me, the thing I'm most looking forward to, you mentioned the format a little bit, but now I'm looking forward to seeing, is this the thing that brings Liga MX back to dominance in this? Because if you remember, last year, 21 out of the 32 teams which it's ridiculous to think that there was a 32-team knockout. Like, that's insane. What, I get it, early competition, right? Like, you're going to make mistakes, but just the fact that there was a 32-team knockout tournament is ridiculous. 21 of the teams were from MLS, and they wiped the floor with Liga MX last year. There's a few outliers, a couple good teams did well, but look, all intents and purposes, they wiped the floor with them. Will we see Liga MX team saying, all right, we got to lock in for a week. Let's just lock in for 1 week. If I'm Cruz Azul, I'm playing 2 games in LA. If I'm Club America, I'm playing all my games in Texas. Like, let's lock in and see what we can do. Armand, I'm interested to see if that makes the Liga MX teams compete again at a stronger level.
Damn, y'all took the talking points right out of my mouth. I mean, the new format allows for, again, matchups that we want. The whole thing is MLS versus Liga MX, not MLS, Liga MX, as you guys were saying. It's just, to me, again, like, yes, people are like, I wish my team was in Leagues Cup. Actually, I don't know. A lot of MLS supporters kind of hate Leagues Cup.
I like the way how you can earn it. I like that it's a privilege to play.
I like the way that you can earn it into there by making the playoffs, essentially. It's also funny looking at the Western one. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but seeing San Diego, who is supposed to be the third pot team, etc., now being like one of the top teams of MLS and being thrown into a group, making it even more difficult. But for me, it's, again, seeing those matchups against each team, and I think they finally got a format that I think makes sense until they change it again inevitably to something else. But this makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing is, Dan, you're like, if you're a Liga MX team, you're like, let's just lock in for a week. But I think that especially I think Liga MX players like being in the US. They like coming here. They like shopping at the malls. They like being able to bring their wives, their girlfriends, or whatever. But at the same time, like that's just if you have kids in school, like you can't bring them for the whole League's Cup, right? You can bring them for a week, and okay, like cool. The trip will end after these 3 games, and then we can come back. We can earn our way back. So I definitely think that the 3 CONCACAF Champions Cup slots at the end still being there, that being the stakes. This is most teams' best path to a CCC. You could even say to get to the Club World Cup. So I think that's kind of the most important before we get into specifics like I know we're going to.
Yeah, and you look at the schedule. I mean, let's just take Tuesday, the first match day. You could go
Tuesday's awesome, man.
Toluca Columbus at 6, Tigres Houston at 8, Pachuca San Diego at 10. I mean, on a Tuesday night, I'm about to lock in for 6 hours of League's Cup.
John, free League's Cup.
And John
that
gets
is
paid
exactly
to do
what
it.
I'll be doing. That's right, baby.
And John gets paid to do it. What a legend. We couldn't talk about League's Cup though without getting into predictions, because we got to look back at these in a couple of weeks and see who had the predictions.
I like that's the logic, because we have to do predictions so we can judge the predictions.
Yeah, it's
so
all
you can
about
call me a
being
dumbass in a week or something.
Yeah, it's all about being a hater. And as a true hater myself, what I want to do is I want to say, let's go with and I didn't really share before we talked about it what kind of the format for predictions was going to be, other than obviously pick a winner, but I want to identify 1 or 2 Liga MX teams and 1 or 2 MLS teams that you think are going to do really well in this tournament, and then pick a winner. So let's go to
John.
All right, we'll go to John first again. Why not?
He's a resident League's Cup expert.
We do have 3 weeks of Liga MX to judge on now. It was a little wild last week too. We could talk about that, but it was a wild week. It was a wild week of Liga MX. But yeah, what are you looking at for teams to be?
I'm supposed to give you 2 good teams from each, or 2 teams I think will succeed.
1 to 2.
Yeah, a couple teams, and then the champion. Who's going to win it?
I think this is boring, but it's not. I think America has a lot to prove, which is not their sort of typical mode. They've won the 3 back-to-back titles and then lost. They lost the playoff to LAFC, then they lost Campeón de Campeones. And I think that people are starting to get really frustrated. Fans are starting to get really frustrated with Andre Jardine, with the current group, more than anything with the sporting director, Santiago Baños, for not signing. They want Boanga, they want other big signings, because a lot of the players who have left haven't been replaced. But I think they're going to do well in this tournament without any signings, because I think it's a very good team. I think their league stage draw is relatively friendly. They've got RSL, Minnesota United, and the Portland Timbers.
And they're playing those games in Texas.
The Timbers game is in Austin. The RSL game is actually in Salt Lake, Daniel.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the other one is.
Houston, Minnesota, Houston.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. So why do you have to go to Salt Lake?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
But I think they're going to do really well. I think they're going to kind of recapture, like the greatness of America will once again be seen. I think they're going to do well. And in MLS, we talked about this a little, so this might be cheating, but I think LA Galaxy are going to have a great tournament.
Wow. Okay.
I think the LA Galaxy are going to have a great tournament. Their draw is also good. They play Xolos, who are still trying to figure out what they're doing. They play Santos Laguna, who have been terrible, better so far this season, but generally quite poor. And I think that and they do have Cruz Azul, so that's tough. But I think that when you look at a team that's been playing well in decent form and it just has no reason not to just go absolutely all out in this tournament, that's the Galaxy. Couple injury doubts, the defense is rough, but Liga MX teams, they'll hit you, but they'll also be allowed to be hit. So I think that the Galaxy could poke into that top 4 and make those quarterfinals. So 2 teams with a lot of history, 2 teams with big brands, 2 teams that are kind of going in different directions right now. But those are my picks.
So you're saying Club America to win it?
I think the Mexican team will win it this time for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I will go to my next, and I am actually picking a Mexican team as well to win it. I'm going with Cruz Azul. When you look at everything, I really am interested to see what Tigres does in this tournament. I was really impressed with what they did over the weekend. They've got so much firepower now. Angel Correa. I'm very interested to see with Pumas adding Keylor Navas. That's very interesting as well. But you look at their schedules. Okay, Pumas has to play Inter Miami, Orlando, and Atlanta. Atlanta sucks, but they have to win 2 out of those 3 games. They're going to have to win 2. So that means they have to beat Orlando or Miami. That's just a little bit of a question mark. You look at Cruz Azul, though. They're in the group with the Galaxy, the Sounders, and the Rapids. I don't rate the Galaxy. I think without Yoshida, I think their defense is too leaky. I don't think they can get it done. And then they're a battle-hardened team. They won the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They have all the players that know how to win in these tournaments, know how to navigate knockout round games. I think Cruz Azul is going to do really well. And then obviously you can't look past Inter Miami. If Rodrigo de Paul is playing, I think Inter Miami far and away is the best MLS team in this tournament, the way that it's built. And again, Pumas, Necaxa, Atlas, that's incredibly manageable for Miami. They should get 7 points out of that with their eyes closed. If they're playing, I think all 3 of those games are in Miami. So I got to go with Miami and Cruz Azul. I think that those are the 2 that it all works out for. And by the way, again, like Tigres has LAFC, San Diego, and the Dynamo. That's tricky. I mean, both that pot is tricky.
I feel like they got like a marketing schedule because like they're in Houston because a lot of Tigres fans live in Houston, but then it's like Tigres versus Chucky, right? Like that's a great matchup. And San Diego, they definitely like San Diego's in this tournament basically because the Whitecaps were like nah, or because they were told to be like nah. But you got Chucky seeing his old team Pachuca, then you've got Chucky seeing a very good team in Tigres. It's a tough road.
Armand, where are you looking?
I mean, the tournament sets up really nicely for Miami, right? I mean, like, there's nothing you can really say about that. Like, it sets up very nicely for them. I mean, look at some of the other MLS teams. You're looking at Cincinnati and play Monterrey and Chivas. That's gonna be tough for them.
Not easy, yeah.
That's not gonna be Columbus. I mean, you could make an argument for them, but they have to play Toluca. I mean, the most
Leon Puebla.
Yeah, that's your most straightforward one is Miami. It's just the most straightforward one is Miami. I hate to be the chalk guy, but I would also go America as well. I mean, America, again, has a relatively straightforward. Again, these pathways are very straightforward, and that's what you kind of look for in these tournaments, which is the most relatively straightforward path, in my opinion. And I hate being chalk, but
I don't think they have the top end talent right now, though. Like, I was watching, who were they playing last night? Necaxa. I was watching the game, and they couldn't really break them down. They had a few chances, but, like, they were really struggling to break them down, and they brought on
Reito. Didn't come in. He didn't come in until, like, the second half. They were working in Puma. Like, they'll be fine.
All right. Well,
they got some worries. I mean, they definitely have some worries. There's a reason that fans are like, "Hey, we need another player or 2." But
I do think it's interesting, though. We all 3 picked Mexican teams to come back and win the Leagues Cup this year. Finishing it up, the topic everyone wants to hear about is they want to hear about us and our travels around. Armand did not go to Austin for All-Star last week, but John and I both did, as people who make a little bit of cash covering this league in some capacities, and we are.
You made that sound a lot more difficult than it needed to be.
We're not only obligated, but we also. It's a pleasure to go to the All-Star game. John, how many in a row is it for you? Is that 2 or 3 in a row?
Only 2, yeah. But okay, I also went to the first Liga MX MLS one in LA.
2 in a row for you. I've been to 3 or 4 in a row. What did you think about Austin as a MLS market for the All-Star game? I thought it was really good.
Don Garber, in his understandably newsworthy for other reasons news conference that he gave, he kind of kicked it off by saying how impressed he was, and he said Austin raised the bar as an All-Star host, and I don't think that was kind of business speak. I don't think that was commissioner speak. Charlotte's next, and we'll see what kind of the future sites are. What's interesting about All-Star that I didn't quite understand until I went to that first one, and I had been to a couple. I went to one in Chicago when they played
Real Madrid.
Yeah, I went to that. I went to a couple others before this kind of MLS Liga MX format. What people should understand is that sort of also serves as almost like winter meetings or summer meetings, where all the owners are in town, all the chief soccer officers are in town. Everyone's there, and it's kind of almost more of a MLS convention. And then you also have the game and the skills competition, the events that go along with it, a lot of stuff involved in the community. That's where I think Austin really shined, because in that MLS Next Pro All-Star game, there are more than 2,000 fans at Palmer Field, where Austin FC's second team plays out at their beautiful facility. When you're raising the bar like that, It's just impressive. Austin knows how to host an event, South by ACL, whatever you want to talk about. But I thought it was really, really impressive from a soccer perspective how the supporters showed up, how they care about the team skills. I was really surprised at how many people were in the stands. The game itself had a good atmosphere. The Austin supporters were more into the game than past supporters, because it's always weird because it's like, are we going to do the Austin chants or the MLS chants?
And they didn't even have any players playing until right at the very end.
Well, Stuver started as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. The goalie.
But no, yeah, sure. Great point. Nah. But I mean, truly, I think Garber said it raised the bar, and I think that's like a legitimate, thing. But also part of that is just Austin reflecting kind of actually what it has become as a soccer city.
So that is what I'm glad you mentioned that, because it gives me a good segue, and that is what really impressed me, because I have not, Q2 and Snapdragon were the only Western Conference stadiums I had not been to in MLS, which it's kind of crazy to think about. And I tweeted something. I said, this isn't a shot at Dallas, but it's kind of, imagine if you told someone in 2005 that Austin FC would host an All-Star game before Dallas did. When Dallas had kind of one of the first MLS stadiums. And what was so impressive to me was, again, what you said about how they have captured their culture in their soccer club. And one thing that stood out to me was in the skills challenge, they brought out this armadillo. They played this really cool video package, and they brought out the armadillo. I don't want to say halftime. There obviously wasn't halftime, but like a pause in the events. And they had ISO Speed out there messing with this armadillo. And I just thought it was cool.
The armadillo is named Speed Bump.
Speed bump, yeah, that's right. And I just thought it was cool as hell that they had, done that, and that they apparently this is a thing they do every game. And the stadium really impressed me. I thought it was a little bit like lower.com light. It's a little bit I don't mean this word in a bad way, but it's a little bit cheaper around the edges, but it's a very, very nice stadium, and it's just a great soccer market that they've developed there. And you got to give kudos to MLS. You got to give kudos to Austin. It was hot as balls during the game. Like, it was so hot. But Armand, you've seen that stadium a lot louder than maybe John and I have, because you were there for that playoff game against Dallas a couple of years ago. But I mean, you just got to give it up to Austin for what they've done in that market.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job. And it was funny because like the whole thing was pitting Columbus against Austin. Like, that was the whole thing when Save the Crew was happening, etc. When Precourt wanted to move a team, it seemed like MLS kind of navigated the situation pretty well, giving each team, owners that are invested or involved in both, and getting Columbus new stadium, Austin this new stadium, etc. Again, they do a really good job. I really like Q2. I feel like I've been there like 8 times or something like that. It's a ridiculous amount. And the U.S. national team loves the facilities like there. They love playing there. Like, they've again done a really good job with that, and it does get loud. I mean, in that playoff game, I was working for Dallas, and we're in the technical booth, and we could not communicate, not because the connection was bad, because they got so loud. We just couldn't communicate with them. We were trying to, and it was the way that stadium has noise is insane. So, it's one of my favorite stadiums in MLS I've been to. Haven't been to the more newer ones like you have, Daniel, but it's definitely you feel the culture when you're there. And I feel like it's kind of rubbing off a little bit. Like that new toy thing is kind of rubbing off a little bit. You've like just a small tad, but
man, like if they get back to the playoffs, then I think the city would be absolutely. That's true.
Yeah, Armand's winner of the week.
You'll be celebrating that.
Yeah, give him the trophy. Well, and I love
the trophy.
And I will say too, I hope they keep the MLS versus Liga MX format, because I think it's the perfect segue to Leagues Cup. Like, it all fits so well to have that before Leagues Cup.
An appetizer.
An appetizer. You watch those games. You watched Morris score in the All-Star game, and now he.
I thought you said Morris. I was like, he wasn't there, dude.
Yeah, Aiden Morris
or shoulder
or Jordan Morris. Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough. So. Anyways, enjoy your Leagues Cup. 6 games on Tuesday, 5 games on Wednesday, 6 games on Thursday. I feel like the next week it's just all Leagues Cup games, which I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be fun to talk to you guys about it. So, thanks everyone for listening, and we will catch you next week.